Hi there once again. Great to have you with us. This is Leading Edge. I'm your host, Geoff Smith. Coming up a little later, Father Jeff Rose, president of St. Francis de Sales School, sets the stage for this year's edition of the Global Salesian Leadership Symposium. What started as an opportunity for St. Francis students has grown into an invite for a whole host of Toledo area students. But first, we all know what's been happening in Washington this week, and we were fortunate enough to get some time with Michigan 5th District Congressman Tim Walberg. Our conversation starts with the government shutdown and the fact that Congress members did not get the deal done.
I think the biggest thing is just feeling that the constituents have been let down. Beyond that, we'll see how long the shutdown takes place. Our veterans could have a greater difficulty in getting their information from a shutdown bureaucracy.
This would be the 18th time, if I heard correctly, this would be the 18th time that this has happened in our history. But how important is it, the public perception? Congress does not grade well, has not graded well over the last few years, over the last few administrations. So as a long-term member, Congressman, I ask you, does public perception matter?
I think it does. I really do. I would like to think that the overwhelming majority of my people in the 5th District of Michigan, whether they would vote for me or not, still respect me as one who's in there fighting for the issues that make a difference to the constituency I represent. Generally speaking, in majority. And I think when you get to this type of experience, they don't understand it. Most people don't understand what a CR is. Then you say a continuing resolution. Well, what's that? It's basically saying everything that's in the budget that we're spending on now will continue to be spent at that level. And in this case, we're asking it to be continued for 51 days until hopefully we can come to a conclusion by passing the 12 budget bills that the appropriations bills that we put out of the House Appropriations Committee. 3 of those we've already sent to the Senate, and the leadership on the minority side, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, have refused to give the 60 votes necessary to bring those up for consideration. But we have done what we could do in the House to the greatest extent. We're waiting for the Senate to do it, to explain that to the constituency. In the end, it comes down to, why can't you guys just get along?
Over the last couple of weeks, and I know it goes both ways, but there have been a number of clips that have popped up of politicians speaking out of the both sides of their mouths over the last 20, 30 years about immigration, about the border security, about the budget and government shutdowns. Why is that the case? Why do we as Americans need to see our politicians who we elect into office doing that, and also kind of as soon as the wind blows another direction, that's where they go? You have an explanation for that?
Well, I think it's human nature to want to be on the side that you think you can win on. I would hope that none of those statements that you found would had me in them, because frankly, I think I've remained consistent in the fact that shutdowns of government, so to speak, never work. In the end, we always open it up again. And generally speaking, the party that caused the shutdown ends up accepting less than they would have had they agreed to the first item that was offered. And so I'm going to continue functioning that way, whether I'm in the majority or the minority. I'm in the majority now. I've been in the minority a number of terms in Congress. It's much more fun to be in the majority. But I've also in the minority have opposed shutdowns as well. Unless there were items actually in a continuing resolution or a appropriations bill that I've said I can't support.
And I think one of the most frustrating clips I saw was a Bill Clinton State of the Union this week. You probably saw the same thing, where he was talking about immigration and healthcare benefits going to those. He said, we are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. And it's funny how this all comes full circle, is it not?
It truly is. And we're not rejecting immigration. We're just saying it ought to be done legally. And I think that's one thing that the Republicans have been consistent on. We believe truly that immigrant labor, immigrant ideas and intelligence in certain cases, as you're thinking about some that would come in under H-1B visas in high-tech areas, is good and necessary for the United States, but it has to be done legally. And so to see some of those statements by my Democrat colleagues who now for the past 4 years just were carte blanche, let them all come in. And Joe Biden basically saying, don't come, but on the other side, his hands were saying, come. And we're now reaping the negative consequences of that. But I think we have that under control. So now I'm hopeful that Republicans and Democrats can come together with true immigration reform, whereby we can make it far more efficient and legal to bring someone across who wants the American idea to be part of their life and is willing to come legally and participate as the American freedom offers them. I think that time has come or will come shortly when we can actually look at that. But then, Geoff, we've got to be willing to lay aside some of our past statements and work in a bipartisan fashion in a way that makes sense to our constituents at home.
Coming up, our conversation with the Congressman continues, including a candid chat about religion, his beginnings, and the evil that we have seen play out at our country's places of worship. Welcome back here on Leading Edge. U.S. Representative Tim Walberg, prior to his time in public office, served as a pastor in Michigan and Indiana. So as part of our interview, we talked faith, specifically the potential of losing it when violence and religion intersect.
What do you question when you see a synagogue in Pittsburgh attacked? You see a Catholic school church in Minnesota attacked. You see these things play out on places of worship.
Yeah. It hurts, and it really causes me to look at why, at least some of the reasons I think why it's taking place. I was raised on the south side of Chicago in the public school system. We started our class every day in grade school, and I think even through high school as well, with the Pledge of Allegiance and with an opening prayer. It was in a Polish community. A very strong Catholic community. And so this was just normal. Back then, we, on our athletic programs.
Let me stop you right there. Did your principal, I mean, even in the days that you grew up, I mean, I'm assuming you were born in the 50s, and as you grew up, did your principal take heat for having a prayer? Did parents get upset? I'm thinking the answer was no, right?
No, not at all. And to say the pledge, to have America talked about in glowing terms. And we studied the Civil War. We studied the reasons for that. I was there in the same period when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I think it was within 2 weeks after he had held a rally and spoke in Chicago. So that was all there at the time, and we dealt with that. But we were also encouraged to have a spiritual component of our life, to believe in God, to believe in prayer. Wednesdays, our wrestling practice was cut short, so because the coach knew that probably a number of us would be going to the Wednesday night prayer service at our church. That was just normal. But over the years, we've cut back on that, and to the point that we've almost said that religion is a problem to be in the public sphere. We've taken public prayer out of schools. We've had coaches that kneeled with their players on the 50-yard line, thrown out of their coaching career, and having to go to court over that. Things have changed so much, and when you do that, all of a sudden, some people will see certain religions as a danger. When in the past, whether you were a Baptist or Presbyterian or Lutheran or Catholic or Jewish, it made no difference. And then even as the Muslim community came in with Islam, in most cases, it was looked at as a foreign religion, but nonetheless, people weren't castigated or chastised or threatened as a result of it. That's all changed. And that has to change. We have to get back to understanding that we were established under Christian principles. We can debate whether we're a Christian nation or not, but we were certainly established under Christian principles, biblical principles. And at the very least, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And we need to get back to that.
I don't see it in my mind's eye or in my crystal ball of it ever happening, it ever taking place. But if President Trump were to say, I'm sending National Guard troop members to Detroit, and I know it's not your district, but let's hypothetically say it's Adrian, what is your take? Is that the right move? Is that something you would support 100%?
If it was needed, absolutely. I mean, if you can get a bigger strike force on crime paid for outside of your city budget, why not take it? I've seen literally what's happened here in Washington, D.C. I mean, this is a great city, but there were reasons for members of Congress not to drive after dark around this city.
On the ground, do you notice a difference?
We notice a difference, significant difference. And I made a check about that when we first came back after the August recess and drove in the city that I hadn't driven in parts of it for quite some time, just for fear, having two members of Congress having carjacking experiences, one at gunpoint to his head, Democrat colleague of mine from Texas, that wakes you up to the problem. We saw a marked difference, even the homeless on the streets. So I think it can be helpful. So if they came to Detroit, I don't know if it's needed there right now. I think what's being done is probably being pretty well received. But if that were offered, why wouldn't you take it? To get a handle on it and push back crime for your citizens' benefit, why not?
We appreciate the Congressman's time this week. Coming up, 9 years ago, the new president of St. Francis de Sales School had a vision to open the eyes of the students in this area to the opportunities in front of them. There's another eye-opening experience coming up later this month, and we'll have a preview next. Welcome back. On October 20th, this month, St. Francis de Sales School will create one heck of a day for more than 500 local students. That day represents a chance for both public and parochial students to learn from business leaders, politicians, religious, and from each other. This is year 9 of the Global Salesian Leadership Symposium. And school president, Father Geoff Rose, joins us this week to discuss. But first, I asked him for his perspective on a Sunday about faith, religion, and the presence of evil in the world when people kill and destroy at our places of worship.
It's for me, it's kind of a variation of the Mr. Rogers, look for those who are helping. I'm always going to look for the light in those moments of darkness, because we have free will, and there are a lot of people that, are not well. And so these actions can take us to an interesting place, but that's not new. That's the other thing to keep reminding people. This is not new. I preached on this a few weeks ago, right after Charlie Kirk was killed. In the time of Francis de Sales, 2 Catholic kings were assassinated, one by a Catholic monk, killed him because he was being too kind to the Protestants. And we just seem to pendulamatically swing through these things as even people of faith, that the guy, my best friend's pastor of the Catholic Church a mile from the Mormon church there. In fact, they swept his church for bombs at 10 p.m. because apparently he had written some, Catholics are often not high on some people's list, even as fellow Christians. And you look at all that and go, if we can't be talking to each other, that's where Francis entered into the space, was to say, douceur in French, gentleness or sweetness, talk to people. And I always said, there were these priests preaching holy war from the pulpit, and you want to say, no one knows the name of the monk that killed the king. Nobody knows the name of the priests who were preaching holy war. They know the name of Francis de Sales because he was preaching what is right and true, which was dignity for each person. You could even take it to Jesus and say, if for the fact we didn't have him in the creed, you wouldn't know the name of the Roman governor who killed Jesus, because he doesn't represent truth. He represents fear and oppression and darkness and all that. So I
So
guess that's
for
where I'm
as
going to put
long
my
for
focus.
as long and long, you're saying as long as time goes back, there's been this misunderstanding, and misunderstandings turn into actions of violence.
Yeah, and of course, then you add into it mental health and all that too. Like I think those things play out. And again, right now, we're just it's Lord of the Flies to me on some level, Geoff. It's that like people push it and they push it, like mocking Paul Pelosi when he took a hammer to the head. Like, where are people to go, no, we are not going to be that kind of people? But there wasn't pushback on that. You saw some pushback on the Charlie Kirk stuff, well deserved, in terms of people going, what is wrong with you that you're good, or, but we're getting somewhere. It will snap back. It always does, right? I mean, we're pendulumatic. It'll snap back. I just pray it happens sooner than later. But I know for me, I feel like the witness to it is um, in love and gentleness and peace, which is the way of Jesus Christ. Put away your sword on the night before he was killed. Not
Yeah.
yeah, let's go. And so many Christians talk in that way. It's just not supported in the gospel. It just isn't. But that's it's like it's Gandhi. An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. So that's just common sense. That's not even a
Well,
deep theological teaching.
we air on Sunday. I felt that was a fitting way to open, just a good conversation to have for people to hear. Let's talk about the Global Salesian Leadership Symposium. Once again, I've lost count of where we are as far as the number of these. All I know for me, Father, is that this Genesis moment, to go back to the Bible,
Yeah.
started with an effort specifically for St. Francis, and it has grown by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, so this is our 9th annual, and yeah, it started as part of the Salesian Leadership Initiative that I started my first year as president with our team here, and this was that outgrowth. And right away, I mean, this has always been important to me that St. Francis be a resource to the community. If we're just here to educate and stay internal, no, it just doesn't work for me at all. And so quickly, it was like every student in this area would benefit from a symposium, sort of a TED Talk opportunity, and to give young men and young women, I would say, access and proximity to global thought leader. And we just did this with the juniors and seniors yesterday. I'm pointing up the chapels above me, but we showed them all the speakers, and one of the seniors comes up to me and says,
that wasn't a reference to God.
not God, not directly. But the senior comes up to me after we showed them all the breakout speakers. He goes, this smells like a networking opportunity. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a chance for you to meet people across, great disciplines, whether it's law enforcement or media or education, educational leaders. Think these things through. The head of, Kate Summerfield with the Toledo Community Foundation. I don't think young people understand what a community foundation is. So there's so many takeaways for them to get from an event like this. And when you say, and this is huge, Geoff, 511 kids are signed up. We're at capacity. I love that this event is sold out. And schools are coming that have never come before. Otsiego's joining us. I've been trying to get the other Knights in our area to join us for years. And Joe Jurwa was going to come when he was still a student. It just didn't work out timing wise. But that idea to go, this benefits the whole community, because there's only one Toledo. There's only one Northwest Ohio. We have fun on sports fields, but in the end, we're all in this together, and we want great neighborhoods, and we want great churches filled with leaders, and people can appreciate the Salesian component that's unique to our school, in the sense that that's a good thing for all of us.
Talk to us, let the viewers know, and I have been lucky enough, I've been honored to be a part of it for so many years, but kind of talk our viewers through how the day unfolds for these students. There is a general gathering at the very beginning to start their day, and then there are these break-off sessions. Talk about that a little bit.
So there's two, and it's evolved over the years, right? We used to do three keynotes and 3 breakouts. And now, going off of student evaluation, they've asked for more access to the breakout speakers. So we've shifted down to 2 keynotes and more breakout opportunities, because they would look at that panel and go, I want to hear from more of them. So that's the deal. Yeah, we bring them together. They get to hear that first keynote. That this year will be Lieutenant Governor Tressel, and then we'll send them off to, I think it's 2 breakouts, and there's lunch, and I think Leadership Toledo again is coming in to do a leadership activity with them, and then a few more breakouts, and we'll end with Sam Goodwin, who's just an amazing story. But again, that idea, like listen to a big lecture, kind of more TED Talk-ish, and then go listen to some great leaders, both in the community and some that are more national speakers, to maybe tabletop a problem at your school and learn how to really work through a problem with those things of humble confidence, authentic relationship, and to be a servant leader. Those are universal. As I said, they're part of our Salesian Leadership Initiative. But I think everyone wants someone in their community that's humbly confident, that seeks authentic relationship. Look, not everyone's going to be your best friend, but we can be authentic with each other. And again, I think that's an issue in our culture right now. And then to say, I'm here to serve.
The event, October 20th, you see it right there at Glass City Center. We're back right after this. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Leading Edge. If you want to reach the show with comments, ideas, suggestions, it's easy. All you need to do is send us an email. The email address is leadingedge, all one word, @WTOL.com. You see it right there on your screen. Once again, looking for comments and ideas for the show going forward. We're about community. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, listen, learn, and lead.